Without further ado, I'd like to introduce Dr. Elias Petrou.
Hello, guys. How are you?
We're fine. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. Χρόνια πολλά.
Χρόνια πολλά, yeah. And how does that, because you're from Cyprus, right? And how does that work out in Cyprus? Do they celebrate Greek Independence Day as well? Or because they have their own Independence Day, don't they?
That's true. But we are lucky that we have two of them. We have the Cypriot one and the Greek one. We celebrate with parades doing at school. And we feel as part of the Greek communities and let's say the Greek nation. We are Greek Cypriots, so we are very proud for that day. And actually, during the revolution 1821, we did our struggle too to unify with the motherland. However, we didn't manage, but we still feel Greeks. We study Greek language, we still do everything, and we are as Greek as everyone.
Of course you are. And I'm sorry you're not here because there's two Cypriots that are going to be playing music for us today.
Oh, yeah, we are everywhere, huh?
Yeah, so it's going to be a lot of fun. I think it'll be more classic rock than anything Cypriot or Greek, but they do have this one song. So that when they sing it, it's kind of it's almost how they lament Cyprus. So they I know it's a beautiful song, isn't it? So although when you look at them, you think, wow, these guys seem more like they're like a hard rock band or something like that. But then they do this very soulful song. Enough about them.
Yeah, sorry.
We're going to talk about them later. But but what I loved was because we do have quite a few people from Cyprus on the show, and so we're glad that you're joining the cast of people that come on the show. We love that.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, guys.
So, this is a fundraiser for the Greek school program. So maybe you can tell me how you got involved because you are an instructor for the program.
That's true. Actually, except my work at UCI, working at Greek language and Greek literature projects, I am teaching at St. Basil's Greek Orthodox Church, Greek language and culture, but also I'm teaching the Greek language and culture at UCLA. The thing is that coming from Europe after finishing my PhD in Austria and doing about medieval Greek history and language, I have to be honest, coming here, I realized how important it is to spread the word, spread the knowledge, spread the language among not only the Greek community, but also people who are interested to learn more about Greeks, about the Greek history, about Greek mythology, about so many things. So I think it was during the Greek exams in 2018 at UCI when many schools came there to give the exams, many kids, many students. And I came in contact with many instructors there, teachers like Tessie from San Juan Capistrano, like Maria Paulson from Redondo Beach, and many members of the Greek community. So I got the opportunity. I said them, guys, I'm all hands on deck. I can help you. So during the mornings, I'm working at the university, and during the afternoons, I'm teaching Greek. So this is it.
That's beautiful. Well said and well done, my friend. Well done. I want to talk to you about, because you're not only, is it recently there is, you became involved with UCLA as well, right?
True.
What do you do at UCLA?
I think like as every Greek, we are wearing many hats. So we have to adjust to all the situations, all the new, let's say, standards that are coming up. So actually, although I'm hired by the University of California in general, the two institutions, talking about Irvine and Los Angeles, UCI and UCLA, decided to share me. Let's split my time. So on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I'm at UCLA teaching Greek, the class 8B at the elementary students. Mostly has to do about the continuation of a class that was happening the previous term. Now I'm teaching the winter term, and we just finished with the finals. And during Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'm working at UCI doing research about the Greek literature, Greek words, Greek books, and that's my weekdays actually.
No, that's amazing. I want to, I've been fascinated with this program that you're part of at UCI because I remember 1985 is when I was first made aware of it. And it was, my mom took a clipping out of a newspaper and she shared it with me. And I remember I had just started working in Anaheim and just seeing that. And I worked for a company that built it was a computer-aided graphic design company. So we built hardware for that space, and some of our hardware had been donated to the program. And I think it was early color printers. This is before they were inkjet or laser, and these were thermal printers, but we had donated the program. And I was so proud that my company, I was proud and I was confused because the person who started the program, I think had German ancestry, right? I can't remember his name. Boomer, it's start with a B.
Ted Brunner.
Brunner. Yeah, Ted Brunner. Yeah, it's wow, man. I was so close on that name too. You know what it is? It's the Tsiparu.
That's the best part.
It's the Tsiparu. And I'm sorry you're not here because if you should come over with your wife and newborn baby.
I hope next year I will be there, guys, and drink with you. Thank you so much.
Well, keep Easter open for Pascha.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Come down for Pascha. And I've so that program, I just found it so fascinating because, and correct me if I'm wrong or right on this, but it seemed, and this is back in the 80s when, the biggest hard drive you could buy was like 20 megabytes. And I think my company was building them back then. It was the size of a pizza box. And they were cataloging every Greek word that was discovered on every piece of pottery, every shred of papyrus, every shred of clay throughout the world, and organizing, cataloging it, where it was found, how it was found, what the words were on it, and then and obviously dating them, and then cross-referencing them with other finds.
That's so true.
Yeah, it just, wow, that was such an early thing to be doing with computer systems, because before that it was, you were treating it like a library and their index cards.
I mean, allow me just to, sorry to interrupt you, Bob, allow me just to say that it was a nightmare before that. I mean, technology is changing everything, and it helped the Greek language so much. And the story of all this project goes back probably 1 century, and the end of the 20th century, when in Munich, the University of Munich, various philologists, mostly doing about Greek language and Latin, they gathered and decided, guys, something, we have to make a dictionary. We have to make a modern dictionary for that time that is going to include all the words of all the classical languages. So the two classical languages were Latin and Greek. The thing is that they decided probably it's better to start with the Latin because they have less words than the Greek. So they believed that the Latin language by the end of the 20th century had approximately 6 to 7 million words, and the Greek language was having probably 75 to 80 million words.
Wow.
So talking about a huge size. The thing is that they decided, okay, we have to gather this. Let's start with the Latin words, with the 6 million. We're going to meet in 10 years to decide what is going to happen. So by the beginning of the 20th century, probably 1902, if I'm right, in Munich, they're gathering all together again. They've realized that even the Latin language is so difficult to be stored, to make a dictionary out of it. Even today, that dictionaries keep being constructed, and just in letter N, I think they still have so much work to do. They believe that they're going to finish it in 20 or 30 years. So at the end of the 19th century, they realized that, something, the Greek language is impossible to be cataloged. It's impossible to make a dictionary for the Greek languages because it's a living language. It's keeping evolving. It's keeping enriched all the time. So even today, we are learning, especially during COVID, we have the new verb zoomaro, which means I'm doing Zoom. So you can see that zoomaro, it means actually, if it has a different meaning, it's enriching the Greek language. So you can imagine that the Greek language keep growing. So by 1972, actually, they came with this idea. It was Ted Brunner at that time and MacDonald, a PhD candidate. She was writing about a PhD about Euripides during that time, and they decided, you know something, the computers are a rising technology that are coming into our lives. What about if we can teach a computer to recognize Greek, to read Greek, and it can do it in a faster pace? And during that time, part of the program was David Packard. David Packard is the P in the HP computers that we need, Hewlett Packard. So the David Packard was, he's still a classical philologist, and he said, okay, we have this idea, let's not gather all the words, let's teach the computer, let's teach our softwares how to read the Greek language. So during the 70s and going to 80s, they teach their computers to read actually beta code, not actually the words as you see them. We have to transform the Greek alphabet to Latin alphabet with specific characters, because we are talking about ancient Greek. They have smooth, rough breathings, circumflexes, all these details. And all this process was happening since 1980s, and they started putting this onto these also described big computers. Our Ibigus, as we said, the first processor, was covering the whole basement of the today law school in UCI, and it was fully AC covered, and was manufactured all the time. And if you want just to add a word, you have to spend a whole day. It was a huge mess. But technology was advancing, and we have done many stuff since then.
That's amazing. And that's really when I was informed about it, was in the context of Hewlett Packard, because that was our competitor at the time. So they, but I just found it just so fascinating that that really what you and your team had been creating, and you're part of this legacy, this line, is what it's really Google for the ancient world. You know, it is. Yeah, it's just amazing what they've done. And when you work on something like that, the fact that you know and speak and read modern Greek, that's not all that helpful. Because you're really digging into characters and language and the way sentences are formed. And I think, was there a time when Greek was not only left to right, but left to right to left to right to left to right, like a snake?
Stropidon, like ox.
I mean, so you were reading, which I think was probably easier on the eyes. I guess, if you're just going, you're not like a typewriter going back every time.
That's true. I mean, that type was actually fun. I mean, if you want to go even to another type of writing, you come to Disco Festus in Knossos in Creta, and you can see that they're making a spiral. So you start from the middle and you're going out, and you don't have to go like this. You just following your eyes. I mean, the way of writing it's all about you. It's creativity. Just whatever makes you feel better to write it, write it. It's nobody will say to you anything. Yes, we have some rules. That would be better if you follow them. But still, we're coming up with epigrams and with inscriptions and with details on margins of manuscripts, which they have all this imaginary and this amazingly, let's say, creative way of writing. And it shows actually the psychology and the philosophy of the ancient people, ancient medieval people, how people were evolving, how they were thinking, the difference from today, and how they express themselves through writing. So yeah, it's a fascinating project.
Yeah, I've when there was a change in Greek, I think about 50 or 60 years ago, where they kind of modernized the alphabet and the structure of sentences and all that, because I know it confused my mom and dad when that happened.
I mean, that changes. I mean, not only this, that was probably with the less significant changes in the Greek language. The Greek language passes through significant changes, for example, in the 9th century. I mean, we're talking about 11 centuries ago, which imagine that until that time, everyone was writing in capital letters, in majuscule. Nobody was writing the small letters.
So they were yelling at each other.
Exactly. Yeah, just keep yelling and no space. no
And that's
spaces.
oh my God.
Everything was in the same. And actually, they realized, guys, we have to save some money. We have to make some economy here. I mean, in order to write the Iliad or the Odyssey, the huge Homer's works, you needed a huge amount of papyri or a huge amount of parchment that time to write all the 24 rhapsodies. So they realized, okay, maybe we should transform our language. So the Greek language transformed into the minuscule. There's much more tiny letters, more compacted. And it was during that time we have the invention of books. Because until that time, we have the scrolls, we have the papyri. By that time, they realize, okay, I can put some leaves together, cut them at the edges, and I will make like a small quaternium, which is going to be a small book. So the Greek language is evolving according to the needs of the people, according to the needs of the society during that time. And that happened during that time, and it happened also 60 and 70 years ago.
You know, one of the things that you mentioned, books. Books were so expensive back then because they were made out of leather many times. And
yes.
One of the things, and so when I believe a few years ago, a Bible was discovered, and that Bible was written on some sort of leather, not paper, I don't know what you would call it. It's not parchment either, but whatever it was. But but it had been cleaned so the Bible could be written on it. And below it, because I guess the original ink that was used had some sort of metal in it, when they, I don't think it was an X-ray, but whatever technology that they used to really kind of get to the next level, they found writings from Archimedes.
Yes. You're talking about the Palimpsest of Archimedes. Yeah, the most expensive book
God,
in the
I'm
world.
so glad I have somebody to talk. How come I can't talk to you about this stuff?
Teach me about it first.
You know? I have
Palimpsest.
somebody I can talk to you about.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, that the Palimpsest of Archimedes is the most expensive. I think it was sold 4 or 5 years ago to an auction for some $1 million or some million euros. It was amazing because that's a very common strategy using parchment books during times of crisis. And I'm talking whether crisis has to do about religious status, war times. So in order to actually, what you said, Bob, in order to have a book, you have to be a rich guy. In order to have your own private books, actually, you have to spend a lot of money. For example, Arithas, which actually he was one of the previous owners of the Palimpsest of Archimedes. He was owning some other books. At the end, these owners, they are writing down how much they spent to buy this book. In one of these books, which is one of the finest parchments, they're so clean, so beautiful, and so, durable. He's mentioned the amount of approximately, I'm not sure, 24 gold coins, which if you take them today, it costs about 2 apartments in Athens today to buy a book. So you can imagine that you have to spend the material, you have to spend money for the ink, you have to spend money for the calligrapher, and at the end you have to spend money for the binder. We're going to put it together. So about the Palimpsest of Archimedes, it's one of the victims, let's say, of times of crisis, along with other books that, when you don't have the parchment and you don't have because of war, so you don't have parchment to come to buy. You cannot buy parchment, or you don't have any cows nearby. It's simple as that, in order to get the parchment. So you go to your library or to go to another, let's say, monastic library, and you find the less usable book, which is going to be mostly made out of parchment. You're going to get it from there, since nobody's using it. You're going to scratch everything from it, so the ink will go away. You flip the page vertically, and then you start writing again on top, the subject you want. So although the old context, the old, let's say, text is there, you are writing your new stuff on top, like Bible, which is going to be more common during that time. Archimedes, nobody knew Archimedes so easily. You have to be educated in order to know the ancient classical authors. So, about the Palimpsest, they scratch it, they write the Bible, but today, through using X-rays and other, I'm not sure if it's X-rays, but other rays, I'm sure some colleagues of mine in Vienna, they are doing this, working with Palimpsests from Sinai Monastery in St. Catherine in Egypt. They are founding all these palimpsests, and they're just using the rays, and they can read the text below. And it's very fascinating because you can see what was trending and what was not trending during that time. I mean, Bible, yeah, everyone goes to church, especially in the Greek Orthodox areas. So you need Bibles, but nobody needs Archimedes. So you can see that they don't have enough, I don't know, maybe schools during that time. So you can put the historical pieces together and you can make, let's say, your own timeline.
Well, it just goes to show when there's disruption in trade, things become very expensive.
Yeah.
And, you've seen, the collapse of the Bronze Age because of that. You've seen it during the fall of Constantinople. You've seen it, fall of Rome. It's all, things become very expensive. But one of the things that just fascinated me was people thought that nobody thought that the classical, I don't want to say the ancients, I guess the classical people knew about calculus. But here you have a book where he's describing calculus.
Yeah.
He's describing the use of zero, where you're describing all the things that really make modern mechanical inventions possible. I mean, it makes understanding the eclipses of the solar system and of worlds possible. And it wasn't, I think maybe people 100 years ago or 50 years ago thought that this person was a genius. Yes, granted, he was a genius, but he was also able to organize his thoughts in a way that would only be rediscovered again in the 1800s.
Yeah.
And that to me is because that's really what caused the Industrial Revolution. Is like you can now build these things. You have formulas. I can't write in formulas, but I know people who can do that.
Yeah.
But once your mind starts thinking about that and you have a way of expressing it, you have a way of sharing ideas, you have a way of really understanding this. So I'm so happy that exists, that there are people like you that are going through and looking at this information and categorizing it and making it available for the next 1,000 generations of people, really, because it's like so I don't think, I was watching something on Crete, and I'm from Crete. Stavrou is my proper last name. Stavrou. I was watching about on one of my favorite channels. It's called Ancient Greece Revisited. These wonderful guys out of Athens make it, and it's so beautiful. But one of the things that they were talking about was I think the destruction of Crete during the Minoan phase and the disruption of that Bronze Age society, and how you kind of saw people giving up on their traditions and their religion because they saw these apocalyptic events. So, I mean, what does it take to kind of scratch away the history of the people that were 1,200 years before you in order to write something that, oh my God, my entire world is being destroyed. I need to really dedicate my thoughts into my God. So all of that just completely fascinates me, and I think you're living my fantasy life, to be honest with you.
I mean, it has its ups and downs. It's very fascinating that you are not rediscovering stuff, because I mean that you have to understand that what you talk about palimpsest of Archimedes, or all these formulas and all these that we recently rediscovered. Many of these texts have been destroyed forever. We don't know that we just learned them out of these texts. So I believe that the Library of Alexandria, or all these distractions happened throughout the times, and like Minoan civilization or Mycenaean, or etc., etc. So you have to understand that we are just, imagine us like kids searching for puzzle pieces to put them together to just get a glimpse of a corner of a huge mosaic. So we don't know anything, actually. The whole Greek literature is so tiny available to the people by now, and we don't know how many more things we can find. And every day you are finding more stuff, and look at this, we never thought about that. Or maybe sometimes you have multiple copies of a work that actually existed. And the thing is that you have to go through this historical process, and from the past to coming today, and see that whatever we have today and what we are trying to save today, it's actually was saved by luck. totally by luck,
Yeah.
totally by lucky conditions and circumstances, and that's why we are trying to prevent this to happen again. We are trying just to make, let's say, you can call it an ark, you can call it a vault where we can put the Greek treasure, Thesaurus Linguae Graecae there. So someone will find it later and keep using it and understand that you don't have to start from the scratch. It's almost there. It's already there. So, however, it's very fascinating, but it can become very tedious because the Greek language, as you know better, guys, it's a huge, it's a beautiful chaos, as they describe it, many philosophers. I mean, you can become a poet from nothing, but you can also cannot even speak at all, although you can say many words. So I have to say that it's an amazing work what we are doing here, and we are going to keep doing it until we are going to cover the whole literature of the Greek classical, medieval, and modern authors. Let's see what will happen.
Well, I love the way you have one foot in the ancient world and one foot in the modern world, right?
Yes.
And you're teaching modern Greek, Greek school, and then you've also, your day job is really going through and understanding and teaching the ancient world. And this is such a wonderful program at UCI that one day I'd love to just go there with a camera and interview all of you.
Sure.
Was,
You are very welcome. We are
yeah.
looking forward to have you.
Yeah, that's amazing. Or better off have all of you over here and I'll cook some lamb for you.
It will be great. Thank you.
Unless this generation's gone all vegetarian on me, which is okay because I eat vegetarian too. But so what did you cook bacalao? Did you cook what did you guys do this year for
March 25th? I mean, the most common and classical Greek food for me is to do souvlaki. It sounds pretty normal and pretty boring, but it's keeping me connected with the roots. I want to keep this connection with back home. I mean, like almost all the Greeks, I believe, around here, I know. I'm talking with my family twice per day. It's not actually up to me, it's up to them. Because probably you have to, I mean, you know it better than me. The Greek mother is like, if you don't call her for, I don't know, for half days, probably he will think that someone kidnapped you and they're going to sell your organs to the black market, something like that. So yeah, I mean, the roots and the connection with back home is so steady and so deep. And the food is one of the branches of this connection. I am still, let's say, missing the back home, but however, we are here. We are a community here. That's why we are teaching Greek. That's why we are giving back to the community. And hopefully we are, I think, not hopefully, I believe that we have a very strong Greek element and strict Greek tradition around here. So we'll do our best to keep it.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well said, my friend. Well said. And you're doing more than your share of keeping it. So, there's just to the people watching, if you'd like your children to be involved in the Greek school program in San Juan Capistrano in that area, this is the quality of education. This is the quality of people that are involved in the program. Is you're getting instruction from people that you'd pay a fortune at a university to get this kind of instruction. Between you and Tessie and others that are there, it's just incredible. And so if you're watching this show, text that telephone number 844-961-3148 and make a donation to the Greek school program. Or use your phone and clip on that video or clip on that barcode over there, the QR code at the bottom left, and support the work that these wonderful people do in teaching children Greek. And if you'd like, you can contact the St. Basil Greek Orthodox Church. The links are in the descriptions, and you can all be part of this. And next year, you'll be part of the poems that are said and the songs that are sung. But for Dr. Elias Petrou, we thank you so much for being
Thank you
part
so
of
much,
this and for the dedication you have to the Greek language, Greek culture, and modern Greek as well.
Thank you so much, guys, for the invitation. Thank you so much for your work to spreading the knowledge and the information out there. Keep doing what you are doing. I hope that this Easter, if not this Easter, soon to taste your lamb, Bob and Aurora. Thank you so much, guys. And what should I say? Chronia Pola. All the best, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
You too.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Guys. Bye.
You know what we should do is, for those just joining us, we had a wonderful introduction from Patra. Why don't we play?
Hello everyone, we are currently in Agios Andreas Church in Patras and we are celebrating the National Independence Day of Greece.
Σήμερα γιορτάζουμε την απελευθέρωση της χώρας μας από τους Οθωμανούς Τούρκους και τιμάμε τους ήρωές μας που μας χάρισαν την ελευθερία μας. Παράλληλα γιορτάζουμε τον Ευαγγελισμό της Θεοτόκου, μία από τις μεγαλύτερες γιορτές του χριστιανισμού μας.
Military and school parades take place all over Greece and afterwards family members gather together to eat the traditional food bakalara with skordalia. We are wishing all the best for the Greek community and we hope you'll raise a lot of money because in times like this it's very important to keep the Greek spirit alive in all parts of the world. Chronia Pola, greetings from Greece.
I love that. Hey, does anybody else have any video they'd like to share? Please send it our way. We'd love to share that with the community that's out there. No, this has just been wonderful. Yeah, we just had Elias Petrou on the show, who's one of the Greek school instructors from UCI and from UCLA, and our other instructors are professors at USC. So it's pretty, the organization's pretty broad. And we're going to just listen to some of the kids here. All right. Hey, guys, I think we're going to cut this short because I have to start making souvlaki. And so we can't thank you enough for joining us. And as always, my lovely co-host, Aurora, thank you so much for being here. And we'll tell you one more time here. There it is. There's the barcode. Take your phone just like this. Go to camera. Hit the camera button. And that's how you donate right there. Just with that. You do it from a long distance too, I checked.
Yeah.
So you don't have to be that close. And, we've, here, you guys have the phone numbers are in the link. The link, you can click the links in the description and the chats. And you can get around that way too. We thank all of you for being on the show and or watching the show and helping us in all this. And with that, let's see. I want to make sure I do the right one here. We'll say yes. Yes, us.
Yes, us.
Ready?